We're getting started in a few minutes, folks. Make sure y'all hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And as always, share, share, share. Y'all want to tune into that. Yo, 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 yo. It's your boy, the insurance junkie, your fiduciary fella, the all-star advisor, Alonzo Hall. And I've returned today to whap and tap on your head with another ADH wealth solution. So today, as we encroach upon the end of the month, in the next couple of days, I want to go over my Black History Month contribution. So this is going to be a brief stream, hopefully very brief, probably less than an hour. And I want to go over some things with you folks. As you see the thumbnail. And the reason that I want to go over these things with folks is because I just literally today had a situation where, again, someone who is of my community, African American, asked a question that I think makes a lot of sense, and it brought some things to both myself and a few other colleagues of mine's attention. So that question was about a high-end luxury car, because the person who was questioned makes a substantial salary to most average Americans. Once you hit that $100,000 mark, most average Americans just think you're balling and you should have, no worries whatsoever. They don't realize that once you hit that $100,000 mark, your taxes increase. So, instead of $100,000 that you come home with every year, you actually come home with closer to 67,000, right? Before even paying things like your health insurance, funding your retirement, which most people at 100,000 are not able to afford the full retirement funding of a 401k, which is $22,500. So the premise behind the thumbnail that you see, unfortunately, I couldn't get the whole picture. I'll probably edit it later. But the premise is, the idea is to be rich, not look rich. So in the left-hand side, you see a young rapper whose net worth is possibly $10 million. And he's got the gold chains and all these gold chains that are probably where all his net worth is in those chains. The difficulty about looking rich and not being rich is that you're usually spending your money on depreciable assets, which is something that happens in the Black community very, very, very often. If you'll look, we're actually the largest consumers of luxury goods. So that means that we buy the most luxury clothes, right? You realize that rich people generally don't wear labels, okay? Wealthy people. Rich people wear labels. Wealthy people generally don't wear labels. What do I mean by that? Wealthy people wear what's called bespoke. What does that mean? That means this shirt is made for me and it's made to fit my body. And if I sell it to someone who is the same height, weight, and everything as me, they may not still fit the shirt because it's literally fit to fit my shoulders. For example, when I go get my suits custom made, they have to put shoulder pads to even my shoulders because I have an injury on my left shoulder, so my shoulder sits higher. Now, if I get, a $10,000 YSL suit, or a $10,000 Gucci suit, yes, it's going to be Gucci Armani. That's great. But guess what? It's not going to fit me perfectly. Like something bespoke. Something bespoke is likely going to be more expensive, and you're going to have no clue who the manufacturer is or who the designer is. Because it's not going to be Alexander McQueen. It's the wealthy people generally wear Hermes. That's pretty much the only label that wealthy people still wear. Now, that's not all encompassing, but in terms of labels, that's one of the major labels that wealthy people tend to wear. So let's discuss and realize the difference between looking rich and being rich. So there was a question posed to Dr. Dunbar about getting a status symbol car, and we're going to have a stream on this. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. I want to stick to my original point of this being Black History Month. And as you guys know, me being the insurance junkie, I'm likely going to tie it to an insurance. But again, before I go in, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Lastly, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional, the links are in the description of this video. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start off by sharing with us something that makes a whole lot of sense. In terms of Black History Month, we talk about generational wealth, so on and so forth, very often. Yet we don't quite know the trick to generational wealth. What's going on, everyone who's pulling up? That is that what up, cuz music. Ain't ish worth of nothing. Yeah, so what happens is we tend to buy no link in the description, no problem. I'll edit the description, I guess. Well, the links will be in the description. I thought I had it auto set up, but I guess it doesn't do the automatic thing until after the video goes public. So the first thing I want to look at here, Quaj, what's going on? He said, well, I met a millionaire who told me he hasn't used a belt in years because all his pants were fitted to him. I then realized not having belt loops was a flex. Yeah, so generally, Quaj, like I said, most wealthy individuals are not going to wear labels. Now, this does not mean that you should not wear labels, because I'm not one of, let me go into the solo mode really quick. So I'm not one of those financial professionals who's like, don't wear Jordans, just buy the Jordan stock, because that's dumb financial advice. Why? Because if you don't buy the Jordan stock becomes worthless. It becomes a pump and dump where all you're doing is pumping money into the stock to make it increase. But because there's no product behind it, it becomes valueless. Take a look at Stratton Oakmont with Jordan Belfort and Steve Madden. Initially, they were just pumping money into the stock of Steve Madden. Finally, Steve Madden is now a valuable brand. But let's take a look again at this, which this is the first portion of my contribution to Black History Month. So this is a article written by Michael Ralph, Dr. Michael Ralph, and he's no longer with NYU. He's now with Howard University. Why do you think that is? Let's see. Here we go. So let me just show you guys his photo so you can see who wrote the article. And this here is Dr. Michael Ralph. Okay, since we're talking about Black history. So Michael Ralph is the professor and chair of the College of Arts and Sciences, and he is in the Department of African American Studies. Now, Dr. Ralph's research integrates political science, economics, history, and medical anthropology through an explicit focus on debt, slavery, insurance, forensics, and incarceration. He is currently at work on 2 books that center on slavery, insurance, and incarceration. Now, why is that very important? Because in our community, we often think of insurance as, an afterthought. And we don't tend to use it for its great purpose of generational wealth. So I want to highlight a few people who made some Black history. One is Dr. Michael Ralph, and that is due to this article here that I am going to share with you. I'm not going to read the whole article. I may put it in fact, I'm going to put the article in the chat so you guys can read the entire article, and I'll do that now. Okay, but this literally is giving you life in the midst of death. Notes on the relationship between slave insurance, life insurance, and disability. So this article examines the way postbellum genres of disability, race, and credit debt shaped the emergence of U.S. slave insurance and life insurance industries. Okay. So if you'll notice here, a book written by Josiah C. Knott called Life Insurance at the South in May of 1847. 1847. We're almost talking 200 years ago. And they're talking about life insurance and how it's affecting slaves and how it's affecting everything. Yet I talk to people every day, and it's not your fault, but you're taught to buy life insurance based on, oh, well, I want it to be cheap. Well, unfortunately, that's probably not the best thing. So let's see what Josiah Knott says. In life, we're in the midst of death, and a day or an hour may paralyze the hand which feeds the helpless. In a country like ours, where the untrammeled emerges an eager grasp, we are pressing along the road which leads to fortune and greatness. We sometimes travel too fast, and great commercial convulsions are inevitable consequences, which bring ruin on individuals, the most prudent and cautious. Take a person so situated, with the uncertainty of life hanging over him, and how much more cheerfully he would toil on could he say, come what may, my life is insured, and my wife and children are sure of something to save them from want. Whereas again, in our community, we like to look rich, we like to wear these chains, but how many of us even have insurance on the chains? See, we'll get a homeowner's insurance policy and it says, well, jewelry is covered in your homeowner's insurance, but that's up to $1,000. The guy in the picture on my thumbnail, do you think he's only wearing $1,000 worth of jewelry? No, but he needs to get insurance on it. I'll bet you he might have insurance on that jewelry, but if someone decides to come in, what's the rapper, DSQ, whatever, the guy who got shot at Waffle House, PNB Rock, I'm sure he had insurance on that jewelry, but I'll bet you we know he didn't have insurance on his life. So that jewelry apparently was supposed to be his ticket out. See, we have to realize those things are depreciable assets. Why? Because if you have the bust down Rolex, it's not something that appreciates. Prime example, how many of us are into cars? If you get I'll give you an example. A relative of mine is heavily into cars. He will never sell any of his cars to the car dealership because the car dealership will drastically undervalue what the trade-in value is. Why? Because he gets custom paint jobs, gets rims, and puts tens of thousands of dollars of music sound systems into his car. Well, it sounds nice, right? There's nothing wrong with having your stuff custom to you, but now it's a depreciating asset because the next person who gets that vehicle might not want $10,000 worth of boom, boom, boom in their car, right? They might just want a regular sound system. Even if it's a Bose sound system, it'll be clear. They don't have to worry about Dynamats or tweeters or, you hear people's cars when they're rattling in the back. It's a little ridiculous. So again, moving forward, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I just want to point out here because on August 25th, 2011, NBC and other news outlets reported a scheme that candidate Rick Perry, then the governor of Texas, had concocted in 2003 to take out life insurance policies on retiring public school teachers from the Swiss firm UBS. Okay? The rationale behind Perry's indecent proposal was that these senior citizens had a high statistical probability to die within the next decade. And when they did, the government of Texas could turn a profit. So black folks, stop relying on your job life insurance, because your job life insurance is not there for you. It's there for your job. You don't believe me? Michael Moore examines a similar practice in a 2009 documentary, Capitalism, a Love Story, through the devastating revelation that a number of Fortune 500 companies, including Bank of America, which we just had an issue with them, Citibank, McDonnell Douglas, Hershey, Nestle, Walmart, Procter & Gamble, and American Express have made use of what industry insiders call COLI, corporate-owned life insurance, where more commonly known as dead peasant insurance, right? So now, you're a high-powered individual at your job. You think, oh, I'm not worried about it. My job cares about me. Well, tell that to the family of Daniel L. Johnson, who died of cancer. And when he died of cancer, his job, Amagi Bank, made more than $5 million on policies that it had taken out in his name. And none of that money went to his dependents. Okay. Now, again, I'm not going to go through that article too much because, like I said, I really want to keep this in the vein of Black history. So I'm going to show you guys one more person here. And this is Eugene Mitchell. Okay. This is the man with the $50 billion plan. The proven now $50 billion plan. And he's focused on wealth building and legacy creation in the Black community. The idea here was to get $50 billion of capital infused into the Black community. He actually created a book called Closing the Racial Wealth Gap. Okay? Now, we're going to continue on here. Like I said, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. So, let's take a look at some of the Facebook activity that he's got here. So, this is his Facebook. And again, he's the man with the $50 billion plan, right? $50 billion. What is a Black life worth, right? Let's see. Is this the video I wanted to play here?
This is CNN Breaking News.
Black excellence is an all-time high. With me to talk about it is Bakari Sanders, April Ryan, Ramon Sanders, and Angela Watt. Angela, all-time high.
Of course it's at an all-time high. Black votes consistently go high.
Give me some examples.
John, we don't have enough time. Serena Williams won the Australian Open.
Wow, she was 8 weeks pregnant.
And don't forget, Black women saved Alabama.
98%.
And Uber shut out the boat. We got Issa, Ava, Lena, Oprah, and so many more.
So I'm going to be brief with that one. And here is there's an article. We did it. $50 billion of life insurance is now in force by the Black agents for their clients around the country, 53 years after passing the Civil Rights Act, right? So, I'm going to share the next screen with you guys. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Lastly, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional. The links will be in the description. So let's take a look here at this article. It says, and this is from Black Press USA, New York Life, because that's the company he was with, reaches a $50 billion empowerment goal in the Black community. Now, why is this so important for New York Life? Well, if you read that article that I just put in the chat, New York Life was one of the companies that in the 1800s actually was declining Black people. New York Life and Prudential, two of the largest companies in the country, were declining Black people left and right simply because they were Black in the 1800s. New York Life also used to own slaves. So New York Life has a personal mission to absolve themselves with the Black community or ingratiate themselves with the Black community. Now, let's continue. So, New York Life reaches the $50 billion Black empowerment goal in the Black community. So, the New York Life Insurance Company recently hosted a panel discussion on bridging the racial wealth gap in Washington, D.C. New York Life agents were in town for the company's Empowerment Plan Summit and to elaborate achieving their goal of reaching $50 billion in life insurance plans in the Black community. So just to give you guys a scale on how this works, during COVID, the insurance industry in 1 year paid out about between $60 and $90 billion of life insurance proceeds. That's a lot of capital infused into communities. That's generational wealth. Not just owning a piece of real estate with a mortgage and then dying and then hoping that your family doesn't sell the property or can keep up with the property taxes or can keep up with the mortgage. It sounds nice, but you've got to have the whole thing in play, right? It's like saying I'm going to run a pick and roll on a basketball court, but I don't have anybody there to set the pick. Well, then I can't roll because there's nobody there to block my defender. Right? So again, 2020, $90 billion, between $60 and $90 billion of capital was paid through life insurance. Do you know only about $1 billion of that went to the Black community? 1 billion versus 60 billion. It's a big difference. So the panel featured Dr. Benjamin Chavez Jr., the president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, Reverend Delman Coates, Daryl DeSouza, Dr. Bahia Mohammed, and Eugene Mitchell, the African-American market manager for New York Life, and Jeff Peaves, the Justice and Homeland Security correspondent for CBS. Mitchell said that he wanted people to know that New York Life and its agents take economic empowerment in the Black community very seriously because economic disparities breed lack of opportunities. The root problem in our community is not crime, it's not drugs, it's not non-nuclear households, it's the economy, said Mitchell. Wealth equals opportunity, and the lack of wealth creates hard times. So, let my people go and all this stuff. Well, the reason the hood is not because people devalue those homes. It's because they devalue those homes because they don't own them. And the rich people who do own them do end up being slumlords and don't fix up the properties properly. Therefore, the people have no pride in their neighborhoods. The reason the hood is because we took the neighbor out of the hood. So, Mitchell continued, we're bringing this tool of life insurance into the Black community so we can use it like other communities have used it for hundreds of years, and to create an inheritance and generational wealth beyond covering the cost of the funeral. See, Mitchell says that with the right policy, when a family member passes away and leaves $100,000, $250,000, or $1 million, that money can be used as an investment to help purchase a house, to fund college education, for startup capital to start a business, or even charitable giving. Right? I actually want to Google something. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. Detroit mother of 12 dies giving birth. Because black folk, y'all got to see the importance of life insurance. I don't think y'all quite get it. It's better than just about all these investments that you think you're getting into, because they're speculative. You don't get into the stock market or investing to get wealthy or to get rich. You get into the stock market, investing, options trading, forex trading, for preservation of capital, so that your $100,000 today in 10 years still holds the strength of $100,000. Let's take a look here at what the lack of life insurance does to people. So a Detroit mother of 12 dies while giving birth to her 12th child, and the grandmother steps up to raise the kids. What is this? Okay, so they're taking it hard. She died naturally. She waits for answers. Okay, is there an article? I guess not. Oh, okay, so a Detroit grandmother has been raising her 12 grandchildren after her daughter died while giving birth in December. Nikita Washington was only 35 when she died during the birth of her son Nathaniel at Harper University Hospital. They're taking it hard. They have good days and bad days. The family's still waiting for autopsy results. The Detroit Medical Center released a statement. As she waits for answers, Pouncey is raising the children and working to make sure that they can stay together. I already thought about it, and I'm going to fight to keep them together and keep them with me, she said. But she needs help. I'm just stuck right now. I have all 12 kids right now with me, so I got to get a bigger house because my house is too small. The family also needs a new vehicle after the crash. Whatever God sits on your heart to do, we want, because we appreciate everything. Now, I want to see their GoFundMe, right? Because she said she needs a new house to cover at least 13 people. So ever since this, she's gotten a total of $70,000. They're looking to raise $75,000. Ladies and gentlemen, is $70,000 enough to buy a house in the United States of America? No. It's not. Now, maybe it's enough to buy a house, maybe a 1 to 2 bedroom house, but she's got a house that she needs to house at least 12 children, plus herself and her husband, and any, people that she has living with her. So you're thinking of it, let's just say it's a single grandmother. So she's now got to house 13 people in a house. This is why life insurance is important. This is why Black History has been made by Eugene Mitchell. By infusing $50 billion of capital into the community. Let's see here. Hi, everyone. I'm making this fundraiser to raise money to bury my sister, Nikita Washington. At age 35, she passed away this morning at 11:55 after giving birth to her 12th baby boy. Who is healthy and so incredibly beautiful, but will never meet his mother. Unfortunately, she didn't have a life insurance policy, so I'm asking for help for funeral service, etc. Her second oldest daughter goes to prom next year in 2023, and unfortunately, her kids won't have a Christmas. Age 19, 17, 15, 14, 13, 11, 10, 8, 5, 2, 1, and 1 day old. Please, anything will help. She leaves behind 12 kids and 2 grandkids. So the grandmother has 14 children, the 12 kids, the 2 grandkids. So that's at least 15 people she's going to need this house for. So she needs a mansion. So let me ask you, is $75,000 enough to put a down payment on a mansion? Not when mansions are usually at least $1 million. 20% down would be $200,000, let alone the fact that you got to pay for education expenses. You got to feed these kids. They need a new car too. $75,000 will be enough to possibly get you a gently used new car and leave a few dollars over for maybe those prom expenses. But at these ages, she has now left a generational curse. And a life insurance policy, let's just check a term life insurance policy, right? Because I don't think y'all get it. I'm going to go a cheap term return of premium policy. Because if you have a child, you need life insurance. And this is when you need term life insurance. See, I also grow tired because people will be like, oh, you don't have a wife and kids. You don't need whole life insurance. Just get a term policy. That's stupid. It's better while you're single without wife and kids or responsibility, men, or without husband and kids and responsibility, women, to get a permanent life insurance policy because you can use your expendable income. You don't have responsibilities. Term insurance is for when you have responsibilities and you can't afford to get that large amount of coverage. So let's just see. Prime example. I'm going to create an illustration really quick. Right? Let's just see. Create illustration. Create new client. Let's just call her Nikita Washington. Right? Female. Age 35. Next. Right? And she's in where? Michigan? Michigan. Right? We're going to sell her some return of premium life insurance. So just a 20-year term. If she would have got a 20-year term 20 years ago with her firstborn, 17 years ago, let's just say she gets $250,000 of a death benefit. Let's see how much that would have cost her. What's going on, OG Patrice? How are you? So, where's my illustration? Block the pop-up. All right, let's quick calc. So, total it would be $70 a month to assure, and this is return of premium. So, after she outlives the term, she would then get her $15,000 back. Right? Now, let's just say she got a 30-year term. So that would cost her $65 a month for $250,000 worth of a death benefit. And she would have got this 20 years ago when she was 15. Let's see if I can change the product that she gets. Let's see here. All right. Can I change the term policy? New illustration. So again, we're going to put her in Michigan, and then I'm going to continue. But I just want you guys to see. So a term life insurance. Let's say we put her on a 25-year term, right? Because how old is her youngest child or her oldest child? Her oldest child is 19. So again, let's say 19 years ago, she got this term insurance policy. Let's say she got it for $1 million. Right? A $1 million death benefit. Now, this is if she bought it today. It will cost her $100 a month. So $100 a month to make sure that when you die, those 12 kids get something. And if we do math, $1 million divided by 12 is not that much money for each kid. But these are some of the things that we have to look at when we're looking at infusing our community with this $50 billion. Why? Because that's actually Black history. So let's continue on here because I want to show you guys a little more Black history. Here we go. So here's a video of Eugene Mitchell, really briefly, talking about the $50 billion initiative.
Black Lives Matter, but what's the Black life worth? We start thinking about and taking stock of what we have and appreciating it more. Because from that, we should start raising our expectations for ourselves and our family. We got to figure out how to move our money, millions individually, billions collectively, to empowering our community. This is about being conscious of where we spend our money, about who we spend it with and what we spend it on. It's time that we start making that income, protecting it, building it, leveraging it, and pass it on for the next generation. Let's change the financial future of Black America together.
So one more thing I want to share with y'all, and then I'm going to get going. Okay? Because not only am I just talking, but I actually am doing, right? We know the reason I got into selling life insurance, and I understand and believe in generational wealth. In fact, before I show that, let me see if I can find the Yahoo Finance article. Because there's an article from Yahoo Finance. Here we go. Well, there's one from PR Newswire. So, hey, what's going on? I'm listening 5.0. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. But we're really going to make Black history here because I think I might start the $100 billion initiative. So, this is an article from PR Newswire. It says, despite being more likely to have life insurance, Black individuals are far more underinsured than whites. Why? Because I want to buy life insurance for cheap. I just want to pay enough to bury me. Well, let's see. Important research today from Haven Life reveals that Black individuals are far more underinsured than white individuals. Haven Life, a customer-centric life insurance agency backed and wholly owned by MassMutual, conducted this national survey during Life Insurance Awareness Month to better understand how Black and white individuals view life insurance and what, if any, impact that might have on the racial wealth gap. The key insight from the survey shows that while Black respondents are more likely to have life insurance, their coverage amounts are strikingly lower than what is recommended to adequately protect their family's financial future. Especially what's going on, Nancy, especially when we're talking in these spaces of these men. It's getting real ridiculous to me because I be having these conversations with a lot of these men and they're like, oh, I just want a little bit. I don't want a whole bunch of life insurance. I want it to be cheap, but I want to protect my wife and kids. Let me give you guys some math because we always talk about generational wealth in our community. First of all, if you go to Google, and I'm going to do that right now, I'm going to, you know what? Let me just share my entire screen because I keep hopping back and forth, right? How do I share my whole screen? Here we go. I want to go to Google and go, how long is a generation? They'll say between 20 and 30 years, right? So it says about 20 to 30 years, right? So let's say a generation is 20 years, and we're talking about generational wealth. Now, what's the average salary of Americans? So the average salary of an American per year is about $54,132. Let's bring up the calculator because savings minus debt likes to do that a lot, right? So 54,132, right? We're going to use the low end of, well, it says 2022, the median was about $50,752 for those between 25 and 34, and about 61,000 for those 35 to 44. So let's say 61,000 times 20. $1.2 million. So people keep coming to me talking about, I only want $250,000 worth of life insurance. The math is wrong, sir. You want to leave generational wealth, one generation, which is technically 30 years, but one generation at 20 years is $1.2 million. That's how much you need to leave one generation of generational wealth based on the Google numbers of $61,000 per year annual salary. So stop talking to me about I need it to be cheap. Are we clear here, folks? This is not a joke. Let's say 75,000. 75,000 times, let's do 30 years. That's $2.2 million. That leaves $75,000 a year for 30 years. Do you think your family can actually do something with that? Yes. What are we leaving in Black America? The average amount is $168,000. If I make, let's do this. Let's 168,000 divided by 61. So that's $2,700 a year is what you're leaving your family. That's basically 1 month's rent per year that you're leaving your family on average. Let's do 250,000 because I've had some people say that. And let's divide that again by 61, right? Well, 61,000 to be honest, which would be $4.98. Well, $4.01 a year. Right? But we're just going to do it but divide let's do 250, right? Divided by 20. You're leaving your family $12,500 a year for 20 years. It's a little ridiculous. Right, folks? That's a little ridiculous. So let's go back to this article. So, 81% of Black respondents indicate they have life insurance either through work, which, where's my article? Hold on. Where's my article? Because I'm going to pull up the article just because. What is this? Boot camp. Right? I want to pull up that article again. Slave insurance, right? So we got the average salary, right? So through work, because that's what I generally hear with Black folks is, I got insurance through my job. What does it say here about having insurance through your job? Dead peasant insurance. Because when Daniel Johnson died, Amity Bank made more than $5 million on policies it had taken out in his name, yet none of his beneficiaries got that. So Black folks, stop thinking your job is going to help you. What's going on, Henry God? Right? So, compared to 70% of white respondents, median incomes for the Black and white respondents are similar. Black correspondents earn about $50,000. White correspondents earn close to $55,000. Yet when asked about their existing life insurance coverage amounts, white individuals state that their median coverage was $150,000. That's where I got that 168. While Black individuals report having about $50,000 in coverage. So you're leaving less than 1 year of your annual salary on average to your family. Yet we keep talking about generational wealth. Make it make sense, Black folks. Make it make sense. It says Black respondents are more likely to view life insurance as a key component to build generational wealth. Yet they buy it wrong. Black respondents substantially overestimate the cost of life insurance. For reference, a healthy 34-year-old woman can buy a 20-year, $250,000 term policy for as little as $16 a month. Again, you're going to be super preferred health for that, but you can actually do that. This is lifehappens.org. Oh, this is Life Happens Pro. I didn't want to go to Pro. Let's go to the regular Life Happens. This is Life Happens for actual advisors. I already have an account, but I don't feel like signing into it. It's just advertisement shit. Oh. Right? So you can literally go to lifehappens.org and go to the human life value calculator. Exactly, bro. It's terrible. We're vastly underinsured as a people. I guess I am going to be going for about an hour. Close this out. Okay? But overall, the results show that there are key differences in how Black and white respondents view life insurance. Black individuals appear to value the idea of life insurance more than white individuals and consider coverage to be an important component for building generational wealth. However, Black individuals do not purchase nearly as much coverage and are subsequently more underinsured. And here's the whole report here. Is there a gap? Is there a race gap? Is there a life insurance race gap? So yes, there is. I'm not going to read this whole article. I'll put it in the chat. Hold on. Okay, so now you guys can take a look at that one as well. So I'm going to close these windows out because lastly, I want to talk to you guys about my man with the plan, Eugene Mitchell. So I hold many webinars, things like my Brunch and Wealth, which I held Friday, things like my The Source built for business owners. And I do see a lot of my YouTube family there. But I also grow tired of having these cyclical conversations about generational wealth, yet we're not doing anything to actually create that. So I'm going to watch a little bit of this video and then I'm going to get going. So let's continue. Let's yeah, let's Here we go. Hold on. Let me make this a little better so that we can just look directly at the video. But I think this is very important for us to see, because it's
ourselves and appreciate ourselves differently. And so with that, I'm going to go into, I believe it's time to clearly evolve the conversations that we've been having over the years. I talked about a 400-year history. Back in the 60s now, right? They were still marching saying, recognize me, I am a man. Jesse Jackson had the chant, I am somebody. Holy cow. Just recognize me as somebody. It's sad to say 50 years later, after the shooting of Trayvon Martin, that the Black Lives Matter movement had to be inspired. But we're still just saying Black Lives Matter. I say that it's time that we have to know that we matter and elevate this conversation to talk about what is a Black life worth, right? Because I think that is where we could really start to create value and a different future for ourselves and our community, right? And to push aside some of the things that I think become the misguided notions for ourselves and our community. As a Black man, nobody had ever told me my value and my worth, right? I'd always believed, and it had to do with maybe the title that I have on my job. That's what separates me. And or the assets that I can show and flash, right? The car I drive, the clothes I wear, the jewelry, the bags, the shoes. And so many of us are misguided to believe that our value and our worth are wrapped up in these symbols of wealth, which are, as you know, depreciating assets. So you never keep up, because you never catch up. You never stay ahead, because there's always going to be another season of clothes. There's always going to be a new round of cars. You're associating yourself, not even for anything else, but tying it to invaluable assets, right? So that was a big part of what I think we have to take away from this. But I think also part in this story is about hearing our own economic value. It gives us a new way to think of ourselves and our path in life. And so here's what I want to tell you, because like I said, I hadn't thought about this. But from that company that I worked at for 17 years, they very early on told me that I was worth $2.5 million. Holy cow, where did that come from? So here's how this played out. I started after getting my MBA at NYU in a leadership development program at New York Life. A 2-year program, I rotated through 3 different departments. When I finished, I got promoted to an assistant vice president. I got a letter in the interoffice mail shortly after that said, congratulations on your promotion. As a new appointed officer of the company, we want to take out a life insurance policy for $2.5 million on your life to benefit the retirement fund of New York Life. To which I said, say what? Right? So what is this? So I asked some folks around me. They said, oh, that's common practice here, right? It's called corporate-owned life insurance, COLI. Banks do bank-owned life insurance. They do it, BOLI. And so I said, I've never heard of it. Well, they said, well, there's different things that as you start to move up in the company, they're going to give you different benefits. They're going to give you different access, deferred compensation, and the likes. But they also do things for themselves and invest in you in different ways as well. This tool, you might have heard it in a small company called like a key man policy. A small company or in a church, they'll take out a key man policy in case anything happens to the key employee. The company wouldn't have to figure out how to start from scratch to replace that person. They'll be set up to figure out how to continue business and to continue progressing until they bring somebody else in. So I said, well, I get the concept now of the key man policy, tying it to the COLI. But where does this $2.5 million come from? To which they said, well, that's what the company values you at. I said, I don't get it. They said, well, that's what you're worth to them for the work that you do. I said, I still don't get it. Well, I said, there's different ways to calculate your value and your worth. And the easiest way to do it is to do a current value of your future earnings. So here you are, 30 years old, making $100,000 a year. We expect you to work here another 25 years. What's $100,000 a year for 25 years? $2.5 million. And that's without raises, without bonuses, without promotions, anything in your deferred compensation. That's just the base of what they will pay you. So you're not going to receive that all at one time, but that's the lump sum, and they're tying it to your value to them. And they say, well, what do you mean you've never heard of this or thought of this before? Right? So haven't you thought about what you're going to do in the way of building and leveraging and passing on that $2.5 million? To which I said, no. They said, well, what do you mean? Haven't you ever thought about protecting that $2.5 million? What if you don't make it home tomorrow? What happens to your family? Won't they be out $2.5 million? Will your wife have to figure out how to get by? Will they have to sell the house? Do the kids not go to the colleges that you wanted them to? Will she have to find somebody else to take care of her? I said, I never thought about it. And then I became extra sad because I realized that the company valued me more than I valued myself. Wow. And this is me I got finance degrees. This is what I've done in life, and nobody had ever positioned it to me like this. And this is what I believe is missing for many in our community. So here's a simple life value calculation. Your current salary times the number of years left to retirement equals your present value of future earnings. Look at a 30-year-old making $75,000 a year. That's $2.75 million that they're going to make over a lifetime. You talk to a 45-year-old client making $50,000 a year. That's $1.1 million they're still going to make before they retire. Looking at it this way, we can value ourselves as producers and contributors and builders in life rather than consumers. See, like I said, in that consumer mindset, all we're doing is giving away our wealth. We're making somebody else rich. We're becoming known as the world's greatest consumer class. We got to get away from that. The other part to this, I think, is that when you think of it this way, it shows that we have real economic significance. And that is important because I believe the loss of another Black man or a Black woman at the hands of the police violence or at the hands of the disease like COVID-19, it not only impacts us beyond the physical, it impacts us economically. So for me, that's what was missing when George Floyd was taken away. If he was making $50,000 a year, I'm sure he was going to work another 20 years. That's $1 million that was taken away from his family. This is a new way to think about ourselves and our value in the world. You guys get where I'm going with this? Get some nods? See if y'all with me? Okay. Here's the other part to this. So when you start thinking about me being $1 million asset to myself and my family, then how should I take care of $1 million asset? Right? If I had $1 million car, $1 million house, heck, $1 million racehorse that I knew I could put out there and make money every week for me, how much and how much would I put towards thinking about to take care of those things? The car, right? I would have it in the garage. I'd have the alarm. I'd go to the mall and park out in the middle of nowhere so nobody could touch my $1 million car. If I had $1 million house, I'd have the same thing, the burglar alarm, right? The fence around it. I may live in one of those communities that my cousins have to check in before before they come over so that I could decide if I want to let them in. How about $1 million racehorse? Would I allow it to engage in unhealthy and unsafe behaviors like eating fried food, smoking and drinking in excess? Come on now. How about not exercising or going to the vet on regular visits? You see, for each of these other $1 million assets that I own, I believe that we would take care of them a lot better than we do take care of ourselves. Right, so this is a big part about mindset. I think a big part of the wealth creation conversation comes back to mindset. So I want to sort of close this first chapter by saying, you know what, that we've got to take on a better, what can we do for ourselves? We could take on a better diet. We can exercise, go for regular health checkups, right? We need to address our underlying conditions. For how long do we say, you know what, we got obesity in my family. We got hypertension. You know what, we got the sugar. We got diabetes. But we act like it's just a thing that comes. COVID made us realize how significant this is. Now, companies that the world, your health says there's a comorbidity. This puts you at a higher class and propensity to pass away because of this. If you value yourself as $1 million asset, should you engage in reckless behavior? Right? Don't you have too much to lose? I'm $1 million asset. I got too much to lose to hang out with you clowns and do that craziness. How about being more selective on my life partners? If I had $1 million racehorse, Would I allow it to hang out and mate with a donkey down the street? I'm just saying.
Message, gentlemen.
These are things that we need.
Message, gentlemen. Message to the men, right? Because again, in a lot of these spaces, we have men who are talking about strags or this, that, and third, and the lackluster women, and the leftover women, and this, that, and the third. And Brother Eugene Mitchell just said something that's very, very, very important. Gentlemen, if you value yourself, if you have such a high value, if I had $1 million racehorse, I'm not going to let it sleep with the donkey down the street, even though the donkey has that donkey booty, that donkey ass. Just because old girl got the big old donkey booty does not mean that she needs you to pursue her or that you should pursue her because she's a donkey if you pride yourself as a Clydesdale. I'll continue.
Need to think about.
Huh? What just happened? Okay, I gotta. Oh, shoot. All right, I'll get back to that one shortly. It just froze on me. So, here's what I'm going to do. So, that was actually from over a year ago. We just had our most recent Brunch and Wealth, which is here. Let's see if this one will play for us. What's happening? Is this one not playing either? Okay. Give me 1 second here. Go back to Zoom. Sign in. Take this screen off. Recordings. I'm just going to show you guys a brief bit of this most recent Brunch and Wealth that we just had with some ladies, actually. Let's go ahead and share this.
I just introduce myself. I'm Charles Galliard, the CEO.
That's my CEO
spouse
speaking.
and child that would be.
And so I just want to show you guys one of the ladies who was there with us.
Themed guest, Ms. Ross. So those 5 components are wills, trusts, beneficiary designations, powers of attorney, and advance directives. So let's look at wills. Wills are, it basically is a device that allows you to have something in place to allow for the continuing, or not the continuing, but to tell you how this person's estate is supposed to be devised. Who's going to get what and how is that going to be split. It also looks at guardianship nomination for minor children. And there are 3 different types of wills in particular that I want to talk about today. So just for a second, I want to pause and see if everyone can hear me clearly. Are we good?
Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. So the first one is, you may have heard this referred to as the last will and testament. So the last will and testament is basically also referred to as a simple will. A simple will just basically means that there's not going to be a whole lot, that you have to do. It's going to be a pretty straightforward process. The simple will basically handle, in theory, it will handle your entire estate, such as leaving assets to a spouse or children. And it's really cut and dry, okay? And then it also, like I mentioned, will name guardians. The thing about guardianship nomination for minor children is very important, is the fact that if you don't name a guardian for minor children, the court will nominate someone. And you never know who might end up having, access to your child. It may not be someone that you intended, but again, you never know what the future holds. So if you have minor children, it is very important to do this type of planning to make sure that if there's not a parent, because there are a lot of single parent households. So in that situation, you definitely want to think about, is it going to be grandma? Is it going to be my aunt? Is it going to be an uncle? Or who is going to have access to take care of my child
Now, remember, I just looked at the article from December of 2022, where the 35-year-old woman, who's a mother of 12, died. A mother of 12 with 2 grandkids. And now those 12 children have to live with her mother. We didn't plan right. So now these kids are all from the bottom and they have to get it from the mud. But why do we keep restarting? Every time somebody dies, we start over. We got to keep going back into the mud? So are we building mud huts? Is this what we are bringing ourselves to, Black America? I'm only going to be going for a few more minutes. But let's continue.
Ensure that the values that I've instilled in them and the beliefs and all the things will be continued on as my child goes throughout life. So the next one, we've already talked about guardianship nomination. We're going to talk about probate in a will. Like, what does that mean? I've heard some attorneys refer to probating a will in a negative light. And what I mean by that is they'll say, well, and I'm not bashing attorneys at all. I'm just saying that the school of thought for some legal professionals is that when you probate a will, you are basically filing a lawsuit against yourself. So you might as well just have a trust.
She is an estate planning attorney as well. Again, here at ADH Wealth Solutions, an affiliate of CG Wealth Solutions Group, we actually partner with other professionals. So even if it's something just as simple as your life insurance, the agent's job is not done there. Okay? She says, I hate that we even use that analogy, getting from the mud. Like, that's a privilege to even say. Yeah. You know? But it seems like we keep having to get it from the mud each and every time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to do this. If you already have life insurance, I want you to call your agent. Number one, for a couple of reasons. Number one, you're going to say, hey, agent, it's been 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I need a policy review. You generally need to do a policy review once every 2 to 3 years because things change. Insurance law changes, financial law changes, investment law changes, tax law changes. The price of gas and a gallon of milk changes. The price of eggs was not the same this year as it was 2 years ago. And 2 years from now, it won't be the same. Yet, we leave the decision of, I had a life insurance policy 15 years ago. I'm good. It's $100,000. My family will be fine. Do you know how many people who make over $100,000 a year living paycheck to paycheck? A lot. The vast majority of people who make between $100,000 and $200,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. And again, a lot of that has to do with lifestyle creep. So, as I continue, no, didn't.
That's true, but there's more to it. You are essentially filing a lawsuit against yourself because, one, although that will has the effect of carrying out your wishes and allowing for the proper disposition of your assets, as well as guardianship nomination, all of these things are done by either a personal representative or an executor of that estate. So if you name someone or if you don't name someone, someone has to be appointed as an executor of your estate or a personal representative to ensure that whatever is sorted through in that probate process in court will be carried out.
Okay, let's skip forward a little bit here.
You created it, you can revoke it, right? Now, the thing about a revocable trust is that you have to basically put all of your assets and title all of your assets into a trust. So the trust will become the owner, not you. And I'm pretty sure Roz will talk about this too, I believe, because it has a lot of tax implications depending on if you use a revocable versus an irrevocable. And there are different strategies around these two types of trust that you want to use depending on your circumstances. So that is what a revocable trust is. Someone can.
So again, folks, number one, you're going to ask for that insurance review. Number two, you're going to ask them, do you partner with an estate planning attorney? Because you have my life insurance, but you didn't complete the job. They're going to be like, what do you mean? I sold you a life insurance policy. You're good. You didn't introduce me to an estate planning attorney, Mr., Mrs. Financial advisor, Mr., Mrs. person with all these credentials behind your name. You didn't finish your job. That would be like if a doctor cut you open to do all the procedures on you. Let's say you had a C-section. Or no, let's say you had a simple surgery inside your stomach. They cut you open, left you wide open, did what they did, and then left while you're still opened up. And then like, yeah, no, it'll heal on its own. They didn't suture you. They didn't use any staples. They did nothing to close you back up. Well, that's what your insurance agent is doing when they're telling you, buy term, invest the difference, but they don't introduce you to an estate planning attorney, or at least attempt to. They don't even find out if you have an attorney or will. So let's continue. I'll only be going for probably another 5-10 minutes.
And be designated by you to be the trustee if you were to become incapacitated and unable to make those changes. But if you do that, you might want to be very certain that whoever you choose is going to carry out that, your wishes according to your, like you want them to be. Now, the irrevocable trust, that is another type of trust. The difference between that one and a revocable is that you cannot make changes. You cannot terminate it. Once it is created, essentially, that's it. Now, there may be some nuances to that, but in most cases, because that type of a trust, irrevocable trust, is created for specific circumstances and reasons, most of the time you won't make changes, and most of the times you won't want to terminate it. When you typically see something like this, irrevocable trust, in my experience, has been when I work with people that might have special needs children, and they may also have, when they grow into adulthood, that doesn't change their special needs, right? Aretha Franklin had an adult child that was special needs, and he needed some planning. He needed access to resources for his continuing care that he just couldn't get because he couldn't get his hands on that money. Whoever was responsible for his care couldn't get access to those funds because it was tied up in probate. Now, had Aretha Franklin done something like an irrevocable trust for her special needs son, that money would have been available right away. So, that's just one example of an irrevocable trust when you would have something like that for special needs. A lot of times they call them special needs trusts. I guess another instance would be like in my business, my other business for senior living. Sometimes individuals need Medicaid planning to cover the cost of their long-term care because they may only get Social Security and on a fixed income of $1,200 a month, but a nursing home costs on average $8,000 a month. So how are they going to pay for that?
Let's skip ahead.
Okay, so let me go to the next slide. And are y'all seeing, let me see. I'm gonna make sure y'all seeing this next slide.
No, it hasn't showed up yet.
So which one are y'all seeing?
Types of powers of attorney.
Okay. All right. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of power of attorney is going to be what is also referred to as a living will, or sometimes people refer to them as a do not resuscitate. Now on this, a living will, a lot of people get confused with a will. They think when you say a living will, you're talking about creating a will in your lifetime. No, that's not right. So a living will speaks to whether or not you want to have someone speak for you in the event, there are life-sustaining measures have to be taken or something medically is going on and someone needs to step in. It basically authorizes a proxy to make decisions for you regarding your health care and end-of-life care. A lot of times when this is paired with a medical power of attorney, because again, remember I told y'all, medical power of attorney, basically you're just giving someone the authority to speak for you, whether or not you're incapacitated or not. But when someone takes a medical power of attorney and they couple that with a living will, sometimes in some states they have do not resuscitate orders. That's when you can take it a step further, and it's called an advanced directive, because it gives that person not only the decision, the authority to make decisions regarding your health care, but end of life and life-sustaining measures as well. Some people don't want to be resuscitated. So you got to put that in writing if that's your wish. Some people don't want to have artificial nutrition and hydration. If that's the case, you need to put it in writing. So that is what a living will or do not resuscitate order is, but it's often referred to as an advanced directive. This is the most notable case that I can think of, and I'm probably dating myself, but do you guys remember the Terry Schiavo case that happened? Like, I don't know, it went on forever. And she was 26 years old and suffered a cardiac arrest event. And she unfortunately had a massive lack of oxygen and became pretty much in a vegetative state for over 10 years. So it was terrible that she had to stay in that state for so long, but there was infighting between her husband and her parents. Her husband wanted her from day one to be taken off life support, and her parents kept her on for almost 15 years. So it was terrible. But there was nothing in place to say what she would have wanted. And unfortunately, that's what happens when we don't effect our wishes in writing. So on this last slide here, basically, I just want to review why people lack estate plans. There's a lot of misconceptions, but clearly from what we've discussed today, we all need one. 47% say that they hadn't gotten around to it. 29% of people think that they didn't have enough assets to leave anyone. 53% of Americans say that it's difficult to find someone that they trust to create the estate plan. And 49% just, they don't believe that they have enough assets worth estate planning. All of those are incorrect. Everybody and anybody can benefit from estate planning, no matter how simple. Like I said, you can have a simple will, or you can just have a simple plan. You can put it in a trust. Yes, all of these things cost money, but you'd rather pay money now and save yourself and your loved ones a lot of headache in the end. Here is estate planning the right way. Get total protection from day one. It's not based on merely a transaction. Typically, if you have a good attorney or estate planning professional, it'll be more relational and not transactional. It provides for your children and your disabled children, and you have peace of mind knowing that your decisions are carried out according to your wishes. You should have periodic reviews, because your trust and will document is only as good as it is, that you're keeping track, making sure everything is in it. If not, you might want to consider a pour over will, which is actually going to be putting something in writing into a trust upon the event of your death, so that you don't leave anything out. Then you'll have peace of mind and an actionable plan that actually works to leave a lasting legacy that transcends generationally. So what will crafting your legacy do for you? Hopefully, we've covered all of those reasons why. And if you want to know more or have questions or want to follow up with me, please take a moment to scan this QR code and follow up with me following the presentation or in the future. All
right, folks. So that's going to be it for today. I just wanted to share this a little bit with y'all in honor of Black History Month. Please rewatch this if you haven't. I know it's a little over an hour, but there's a lot of valuable information in here. I will be having another event next month where we do more things similar to these Brunch and Wealths. Love to see you there. I'll put that information out. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Lastly, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional, the links will be in the description of this video. With that being said, folks, wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. Wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. Wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, when people challenge you, they don't challenge you to challenge you, but they challenge you to challenge you. Accept the challenge. Salute. Shout out to the FBI, feminine, beautiful, and inspirational. Shout out to the CIA, confident, intelligent, and assertive. Miss Queen, what's going on? Yeah, you'll definitely want to catch the playback of this one. So again, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to the FBI, feminine, beautiful, and inspirational. Shout out to the CIA, the confident, intelligent, and assertive. With that being said, wipe ass. And remember, when people challenge you, they don't challenge you to challenge you, but they challenge you to challenge you. Accept the challenge. Salute.
child.